Good morning, Chicago commuters. Welcome to another episode of
Bytes Over Bagels!
Oh, good morning, Chicago. It's so good to see you on your commute again.
Good morning, John.
How are you, Jesse?
I'm doing grand.
We have an awesome show today.
I heard. Tell me more.
Today, we talked to Desiree Vargas Wrigley from Pearachute, the fruit, not to be confused with the thing that helps you fall slowly from the air.
Fantastic.
And she had a lot of good things today. Now, related to Pearachute, this weekend I took my son to see Toy Story 4, his first feature film. He's a 2-year-old.
Okay.
And this was a Pearachute event. So they actually rented out the Davis Theater, and it was all kids going crazy. We lasted about an hour, but it was amazing. She got up and spoke to everyone about the app, and it was awesome. So I saw her in action.
Oh, my God. I totally want to now have a parachute for adults, but I want to hear more about her product first.
That's a business idea. Let's get to it.
Today's episode is brought to you by 8-Bit Studios, a global leader in mobile and website product strategy in Chicago. If you're in need of digital or product strategy, a native app or web app, reach out to them at 8bitstudios.com.
Joining us today in the studio is Desiree Vargas Wrigley from Pearachute. Welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me.
So could we just start out by asking the real question, what is Pearachute?
Pearachute is the largest family activity platform in the world. So we make it really easy for parents to book great family entertainment and enrichment from their phone. So they can sort by age and location and choose from hundreds of thousands of different things across the U.S.
That's awesome. How did you, what made you come up with that idea?
So after my first startup, I suddenly found myself at home as a stay-at-home mom, and I'd never done that before. So I wasn't an early childhood educator. I really was not practiced in how to entertain and enrich children for 40 hours or 40 plus hours a week. And I went to one of the activity providers near us and realized just how expensive it is. It was going to be $400 for the end of the year for the 2 kids and take up maybe 45 minutes of my week, maybe an hour.
Yeah.
And so I thought there had to be a better way. And I looked at the ClassPass model and thought if it's working for boutique fitness, then this kind of, bringing together remnant inventory and positioning it at a discount for families, that makes a ton of sense. Unfortunately, about 30 other people also thought that, and so we launched with a lot of competition.
As you do.
Yeah.
That's how you know you have a good idea, actually. If
Or
there's
maybe
30...
it's a terrible idea. I'm pretty sure if everyone thinks it's a good idea, it's actually a bad idea, which is probably why we've evolved into something bigger. So now we are building the evolution of that, which is the Amazon for family entertainment.
So how does it work? So if I'm a parent signing up, what does that look like? Is it an app, a website? I mean, how do I get active?
It's mobile web, it's desktop, it's also an app in Android and the Apple Store. And you download the app and you can book classes or activities a la carte. But we also have about 400,000 free activities across the country on the app right now. So everything from movies in the park and concerts in the park and every festival and pool times for when like toddler swim is. So we've really done a great job of kind of creating this massive inventory of activities so that we can become the one-stop shop for family fun.
That's cool. That's cool. And what would you say are the most popular, activities getting used now? Is there any like places where parents seem to really like use their credits?
Yeah, so you can buy credits, a la carte, or you can buy them in bulk. And when we do these kind of flash promotions, which we usually do about once a month, people really spend them on Bubbles Academy, Kidville,
Oh, really?
My Gym. Actually, My Gym is the #1 search term across the country.
Oh, no
on
kidding.
The app. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you mentioned that this is ClassPass for kids, and so how are you making money off this?
Yeah.
Is the easy question.
Or are you making money?
We are making money, finally. So we're 3 years into this business, and the ClassPass for Kids model seemed like a great model to start out with. And the concept is there are all these activity providers, and they can't fill their classes, and a lot of them are small, so they don't have big marketing budgets or maybe even marketing savvy to be able to market themselves. So we thought it was kind of the perfect intersection. Let's position them for parents and then create this subscription model that gets parents a discount. But what we discovered is that all the best providers got filled. And so at some point, families started churning because they couldn't get into the classes that they wanted to, so they would rather just book directly. So we thought that a market like Chicago would be able to sustain about 50,000 families. And at 5,000, we started to saturate.
Oh, wow. Oh, gosh.
Yeah, which is a problem.
Yeah, that's a problem.
So we started doing geo expansion and looking at other markets to see if the trend was the same, and really just trying to learn as much as we could, because the nice thing about being a second-time founder is that I think you have the distance from the vision to be able to step back and say, like, you can see when your baby's ugly. And so we were really...
What a pun. What a pun to put in there.
My children are beautiful, my real children. But, I think it takes a lot of discipline to be able to step back and say this isn't working. And so that's really what we did last year. We looked at it and we said, the margins here, they peak at 30%. And when we are really good at our jobs, we're actually hurting businesses because they can only give us so much inventory at a discount.
Oh, sure.
And so we recently launched nationally, and we have a new model, which is there's still a ClassPass element where they can activity providers can list their remnant inventory at a discount, and then we position it in front of parents. But then we also started doing more of a SaaS service. So we go to providers who have really popular classes that they fill on their own, but they want to make sure people know about them.
Oh, cool.
So we charge a listing fee that's very affordable, and we're able to work with all the major franchises across the country that way.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, and then we also started working with brands. So we have a really cool social component to the platform. So every time you book something, your friends see what you're booking, and they can go into the social feed and they can join you for a play date. And we use that same technology to position brands in front of our audience. So we have the most valuable audience in the world, women 25 to 45.
Right.
And so we create partnerships with like Home Chef locally to do a $50 gift card. And every time someone purchases it, then their friends get a push that says, your friend just bought this $50 gift card.
Oh, cool.
So there's a little bit of a Groupon-esque component to it, but it allows us to have much better margins and grow the business a lot faster.
And you mentioned, just a segue, I mean, your last big venture was Give Forward. Is there anything that you took from that experience to bring it over to Pearachute to help make this a better success?
Yeah. So I am very proud of Give Forward and what we built. It was one of the first crowdfunding sites in the world, and we helped people raise $200 million. And, at its peak, we were doing about $5 million a year in revenue. So it was a very solid business, and proud of that. But along the way, like any first-time founder, there were a lot of hurdles and just growth needed as a founder and a leader. So I definitely have taken the leadership lessons.
Yeah, right.
When you're so passionate about something and you're starting and you just are obsessed with it, you lose sight of kind of everything else. And I think it's hard to be a great leader, but it's also hard to see like when you need to pivot and evolve. And
Right.
And we just weren't also really focused on our unit economics as much as we should have been. We were just building this labor of love that kind of kept getting to ride these waves until we couldn't anymore. And mostly the Facebook algorithm taught us that.
Oh, wow, yeah.
A single source of traffic or revenue is very dangerous. So this time around, I'm very focused on the unit economics of the business, making sure that our CAC to LTV is really healthy. We're at 11 to 1 right now on LTV to CAC, which is a very great place to be.
Cool.
And I'm also really just intentional about our growth.
What are some of the, like really cool reactions that you've been getting from families that have been using Pearachute for a long time? Like how it's changing the way that they, spend time with their kids?
Yeah, I think so. Since we added the social feed, we prompt people to capture memories from their classes and activities after every booking. And so we get these really amazing photos of kids beaming. And that on the other end of that is a smiling mom or dad taking that picture, because every time you see your kid explore something new and they love it, you just kind of light up personally. Like it's kind of this high five moment. You found something that they love and you love going. So we hear things like my kid's baby book wouldn't be filled if it wasn't for Pearachute. And the first time they got in the water, the first time they held a paintbrush was because of Pearachute. And so I feel like we've really become part of people's weekend lives and weekly lives. And a lot of their first moments are through Pearachute.
That's
awesome.
cool. Now, have you gotten to use the platform yourself?
Yes.
I mean,
you'd think I would be the
Scratch
biggest
your own
user,
itch.
right? But no, we definitely have some people out there that are power users.
Yeah.
When we were on unlimited offer, that was a real problem. Now that we have
oh, I see. You had to bring it
better
in.
metrics to work with,
Totally.
yeah, we did have to rein it in. I love doing kind of one-off special events with the kids. So my boys are in soccer already, and Parachute's not really meant to replace anything that you're doing on an ongoing basis. We would love to introduce you to the thing that you want to do ongoing, but it's more about creating those special moments. And something I just read recently is that we only have 940 Saturdays with our kids before they turn 18, which 1,000 sounds like a lot, but 260 of them are over by the time they turn 5. And
Wow.
so this time is so fleeting, and we have like 40 waking hours a week with our children. And so I just, try to make the most of them with my kids, and I try to create experiences for other families to do the same.
That's awesome. Let's switch gears to fundraising stuff, because you guys had kind of a I don't know if it's crazy or not, but you were on Shark Tank, which I think for some people listening, Shark Tank is the only reference point for entrepreneurship in the world. Literally, you're starting a business. It's like Shark Tank.
I think all businesses are started on Shark Tank.
I mean, that
Totally.
might be true. So I know that you went on the show and you got
So, as you probably can expect, I have signed a very large contract that says I can't talk about too many things, but I will share what I can.
that's ideal.
And
Hopefully you slip up today. And then
give away something. So I think, when you are a viewer watching it, you have no idea kind of what happens behind the scenes, right? And how much time goes into preparing, and you can assume, but until you go through it, you don't really know. And it is a long and arduous process for sure. We were actually targeted by the producers. So we didn't go through the normal kind of stand up and pitch route. And they told us that they were looking at one of our competitors at the same time. So we just felt like we had to keep going through the process to make sure that our
interesting.
competitor wasn't on. And I was like, if they were lying, they did a good job, but
Yeah,
they
that's
probably were
genius.
talking to someone else. So we got on the show, and we filmed over Father's Day weekend. So it was an interesting kind of last minute. Everything it was like a hurry up and wait kind of situation. I think that's how probably all television is. But what I didn't realize is that there are no takes. You just have one opportunity to be in front of the sharks. They have no prep for the business before you walk in, so it's not like they're briefed on everything before. And it really is just you and the sharks. There's no cameras in between you. So it feels like a real conversation with investors. I mean,
oh, wow.
you have bright lights and you're wearing more makeup than normal, and but when it was crazy is that my shoot was 90 minutes, and then it gets consolidated down to 9 on air.
It's 90 minutes.
Well, not all of them are that long, but mine was 90
Right.
minutes. Wow. Yeah.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. So you're standing there, no water.
Oh, my gosh.
And at the end, you're just completely depleted because
I'm
your
sure.
adrenaline's been going for so long, and you want to be able to air, because not everything airs. I think it's about 70% of what's filmed actually airs. And so
Okay.
this going in, and you're really trying to maximize the experience and also create sound bites that will be edited correctly. And unfortunately, I definitely said a few that I did not intend to have.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why they film for 9 minutes. She's not giving us anything. Let's keep talking. Just keep talking.
make her keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do an analogy. Do another analogy. So you went through the process. I think you got Mark Cuban, right? Ultimately, it was like, hey, let's do a deal.
Yeah, I mean, I went in
Summarizing.
really wanting Mark Cuban, and part of the reason we went to Dallas as our second city on Pearachute was because we were
Cool.
going on Shark Tank, and I really wanted him.
Yeah, cool.
And then it happened, and it was exciting in that moment, but the deal fell apart after. The terms were crazy, and also the deal that we made on TV was kind of a modified version of the actual deal.
Got it.
So it was more complicated behind the scenes, and
Right.
at the board level, we didn't all agree on whether we should move forward. And
Yeah.
we wanted to air, so we thought we had to do the deal. And then oddly, then we didn't air, and that was really devastating. Actually, the season went by, and we just kept not getting the phone call or the email, and we're like, man, this happens sometimes. So I guess that we're just part of that 30%. And then a year later, I got an email from someone or a LinkedIn message that said, hey, our episode's on Canadian Netflix. Did you know that? And I was like, I was wondering why we're getting so much
Canadian Netflix.
Canadian traffic.
That
yeah.
is awesome.
But then,
I didn't realize that. I thought it aired.
well, it did.
I mean, it did.
No, it did. It's streaming online. No, I don't know if it was something contractual. I don't know exactly, but it wasn't supposed to be in Canadian Netflix. Oh, no. And so then it aired in the U.S., but they gave us 3 days notice. Normally you get 3 weeks notice. So our developers were incredible. They prepared a site to be able to sustain that kind of traffic in 3 days.
Oh, my gosh.
Amazon was
Yeah, I
really
didn't think
helpful.
about that.
And we actually our team launched DC within 3 days to be able to have more reach when we went
Right.
on TV, because being only in 2 markets just wasn't going to be helpful.
Yeah.
So we weren't national at the time. I wish we had been, because we would have seen a lot bigger lift. But it's definitely not a silver bullet. And I think if you have a widget, it's a great opportunity to go and sell a bunch more widgets. When you're a tech startup, I don't know if it really makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Well, and I think most people don't realize that if the deal's done on TV, that's not it. And like you said, that the terms change. There's a lot more that can and will happen. That's normal business stuff. All deals aren't done in 90 minutes. I think that's the perception. It's oh yeah, you make this thing and pitch it.
Shake hands
People
and-
give you money. It's like, and then you're sweet for like ever.
Yeah, definitely not. If you're going to raise money, just go the traditional route, I think.
Right. Then you guys also did, so I don't know, I can't remember the sequence of events, but you also did crowd fundraising on Republic, right?
Yeah.
And that was through, this was after things had launched, right? Was this through current users, or tell us about that?
Yeah, so Give Forward, my first company, was a crowdfunding site, and my initial vision for it was basically what GoFundMe has become, and then also mixed with like Indiegogo. So I really wanted entrepreneurial crowdfunding to be on the platform, but it wasn't legal at the time. Like there was no filing mechanism to
Right.
be able to do it. And so when Republic launched and they approached us, I was excited to do it because I think it's so important for the ecosystem to be able to tap into supporters that are not necessarily accredited investors.
Right.
So mostly I did it in the beginning as just to support the movement. And then we set the target at $250,000, and we raised it, and I was like, this is a great tool. It is very expensive, though, to do it as a strategy. So I think people come in and they're like, oh, it's like an alternative to Kickstarter. And it really isn't. You have to do, the filing is, it costs a lot of money, and you have to have your accounting and your books have to be in a certain way. And also down the line, depending on how successful you are, like the note can be kind of complicated. So
Got it.
I don't recommend it for every business, but if you have a product that's already out there that people love, and I mean, I do love the fact that we have some of our biggest investors through the platform are customers.
Yeah,
and
that's cool.
the
It's not-
providers
yeah.
on the platform.
Can you guys tell me the difference between Republic and Kickstarter?
Yeah, absolutely. So Republic is equity crowdfunding. So when you're on there, you are giving up a piece of your business.
I see.
And it's great because it allows non-accredited investors to invest up to $2,000 a year.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a great way to bring friends and family that are not uber wealthy into
Right.
the business. And often your biggest fans and supporters are willing to put in, $1,000. And the ones that are accredited can put in, I think, as much as $25,000. So it is a great vehicle for creating structure to how you want to raise the money. But you really do have to have launched, and you have to have a product usually.
Okay.
So I wouldn't recommend it to be your first dollars in.
Okay.
Where Kickstarter is, you're not giving up any equity, and or Indiegogo, and you are usually giving us some kind of perk, like
Right.
a T-shirt or inclusion in the podcast that they're going to launch.
I've gotten some great magnet bottle openers from Kickstarter, so I think you should think about that as a
As a parachute
keychains.
perk, yeah. Magnet bottle openers. I think we're going to go magnet chip clips. Is probably more our scene.
they're- I always run out. I never
I
have
know.
enough, and
I
I have
know.
like 10.
I know it's great for hanging art and closing chips.
Right.
Yeah, it's interesting. You've kind of gone through all these roads because obviously you've done the venture funding a couple times now and done that. So you've kind of seen every angle of raising money to start
I
a
really
business.
have. I bootstrapped, and then we went through an accelerator with Give Forward, and then raised angel money, and then I raised strategic from Nationwide Insurance. So raised $11 million between the two companies.
Wow.
And
It's amazing.
a lot of different scenarios.
Well done.
Yeah,
Well
thanks.
done.
I feel
Not
like
easy.
I think I'm well trained for whatever comes next in my life after Pearachute to coach people through fundraising,
Totally.
or hopefully to give them money.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, there we go.
Yeah, I
Feed the
see myself
ecosystem.
as a future investor.
Good. Our audience is a lot of entrepreneurs. So what kinds of advice do you give to entrepreneurs starting out? Because I would imagine there's more questions than not, especially if you're doing it for the first time.
Yeah, I love mentoring new founders, and I find myself kind of mentoring two different stages. So the pre-launch and then a little bit into the business. And the people that I talk to pre-launch, they always kind of seem to have the same sticking point, which is if I only had $25,000, if I only had $50,000, then I'd be able to do X, Y, and Z. And I'm constantly telling them, like, that money exists. It's either on your credit cards, or it's a personal loan, or you're borrowing it from your, some family members, like a combination of family members. But that money exists, so that can't be the hurdle. It has to be something else that's keeping you from launching. And not that I'm a psychologist or a coach, really, but I really do try to help them see, like, what is it that's keeping you from doing it, and what can you do that's truly MVP between, a WordPress site and surveying and whatever, just to figure out what you can get you to the first step, because I think people create mental hurdles that don't exist. The next stage, I think, is more exciting because they've built something, but they just don't know how to do anything with it sometimes. Like, they're like, it needs to exist. I'm so passionate about this. It exists, and it's not where I want it to be, but it's here. And, like, how do I raise money for it? How do I take it to the next level? And I think that stage is so fun because the world is truly open. Like, you've created an opening into it. And so, different companies need different things, but I think the most important thing at that stage is to understand the truth of the timeline. Like, you are not going to make any meaningful money for 2 to 3 years. And you either have to fundraise or you have to find a way to create revenue that will sustain the business. And so what are your options here? What's the story that you need to be able to fundraise? Who are you going to be able to fundraise from? What does that pitch look like depending on who you're talking to? And then also like making sure that the vision really makes sense in the long term, that the North Star is strong enough. And so, yeah.
So what do you see as, the next big thing with Pearachute?
We used to compare ourselves to ClassPass, right? We were the ClassPass for kids activities, and now we see ourselves as the Amazon for family entertainment. So it's a much bigger vision. It's more about being kind of this inventory management CRM layer that sits on top of other registration platforms. So think of it as like third-party sellers meets direct selling meets sponsored content. So when you look at it that way, we have billions of dollars of potential transactions that can happen through the platform. And with the partnerships that we're securing now between park districts and like big national partners like iFly and Super Soccer Stars, I think that we'll be there pretty soon, transacting billions of dollars, which goes back to what I did in a previous business, which I said I wasn't going to do, which is make money off of very small margins. But
Right.
but when there's a B next to it, it's a lot easier to make a real
there we
business.
go.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
Bezos knows the pennies add up.
Yeah.
He just knows that.
Yeah.
It took a while, but he knows that.
Yeah.
So
So we're going to be profitable a lot faster than Amazon. Maybe not at the scale yet.
So is there a lot that you need to be doing behind the scenes now to kind of transition that model from the ClassPass model to more of this, third-party seller Amazon model?
Yeah, so we're so lucky, right, that we had ClassPass go before us, and then locally we've seen Groupon grow and the challenges of having a really big sales and account management force. So we were able to kind of look at what the two businesses had done and decided that we wanted to have a different approach. So we have more of an Airbnb-style self-onboarding for all of the activity providers, which makes it, it's definitely more self-serve, but it also means that they don't have to spend as much money. And when an activity provider comes on the platform, they get somewhere between 100,000 and 800,000 impressions a month, basically for free, just for listing their activities, which is significantly different than them going on Google or Facebook or anything like that. So
Or Groupon, for that matter.
or
right?
Groupon, yeah,
Right.
which has been very hard on this category.
Yeah.
So we feel very lucky to have been able to kind of learn from the giants and build something different that hopefully is more sustainable and a lot more efficient.
So it's time for the most important question in the interview. What is your favorite bagel, and how do you like it prepared?
So I like an everything bagel, but just half of one, which thank you guys had it.
Yes.
Toasted, cut in half of it with butter, half of it with cream cheese.
That's amazing.
That is clarity.
Yeah.
That is optimism.
And that's all of the flavors.
It's like salty, and then it's also smooth and creamy. Yeah,
Well,
it's
that's
the way
really,
I like it. Yeah.
That's really nice. Well, Desiree, thank you so much for taking some time to talking with us. We're really excited about the future of Pearachute and what it's going to look like this fall as you embark on your next vision for it. And best of luck to you.
Thanks so much for having me.
Where can people find more information about you or Pearachute?
Yeah, so our website is parachutekids.com, and it's Pearachute spelled like the fruit, so P-E-A-R, and it's called Pearachute because you can drop into the fun.
Cool.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Thanks for joining us. We will see you next time. You can always find us online at Bytes Over Bagels, Instagram, Twitter, and the Facebooks. See you next time.
Thank you.
You're listening to EBS 8-Bit Studio Station.